Warami, Nagaya Susan, Nagaya Grinjiwawunga, Gumida Bianga, Gumida Wayangra, Madamarong Tianaga Aniga, Madamarong Bialia, Gamarigal Guri Pemel. Hello, I'm Susan. I'm Grinjiwawunga. With honour and respect, I ask to speak to the male spirits, I ask to speak to the female spirits, to seek permission to walk, talk and speak to you from Gamarigal land, Sydney's Northern Beaches. I acknowledge elders, traditional owners, custodians, knowledge holders, and all Indigenous peoples who are with us today, presenting online and in person, and indeed everybody presenting and watching online and in person from the International Convention Centre in Sydney, Gadigal land. Along with my co-host, Tony Boatman, we are here for the next 2 days, participating and listening to a range of diverse voices at the Impact X Summit, which will bring to the world stage leaders from different sectors who share a common objective, designing actionable pathways to zero emissions. Can Australia do it? Do we have what it takes to get us there? Are we making full use of all the local elements to ensure success? Maybe, maybe not. We are the original people of this land. We are the oldest living cultures on the planet. We have bloodlines to country and connection through our DNA and ancestry. In 1769, there was a sailor who set forth on a secret mission to find the legendary Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown land of the South. On one of his journeys, he was searching for the transit of Venus to lock in place and time and carry out his secret orders. A spell was cast to capture all the tribes of the great southern land, and the effects of those actions are still rippling today. We are first in time. We are the original people. It was prophesied a time of reckoning was coming, when we would take back our power, and that time is now. We never ceded sovereignty, and all the agendas not from the natural world are being corrected. Spiritual law is purifying that which has been done to us and all of humanity in the destruction of our home. One could say climate change is a direct result of colonisation. Indigenous leaders from around the world will be joining government officials, scientists, activists, and NGO representatives at the UN Climate Summit in Scotland to highlight the role of Indigenous peoples globally in providing climate mitigation and adaptation solutions. We are the inheritors and the practitioners of unique ways of relating to people and the environment, protecting nearly 22% of the Earth's surface and 80% of our biodiversity. There are an estimated 370 million Indigenous people worldwide, across 90 countries, representing 5,000 different cultures. Around the world, Indigenous peoples retain social, cultural, economic, and political characteristics that are distinct from those of the dominant societies in which we live. But despite forming less than 5% of the world's population, Indigenous people account for 15% of the world's economically poorest. We are the bridge between the earth, its rights, and modern society. Many communities foster and maintain multifaceted and nuanced relationships between humanity and the natural world. Because of our connection to the land and the heightened impacts we experience from climate change, in many cases, our communities are leading the way in innovation, in climate change, and health adaptation work using traditional knowledge and novel approaches. With support, this makes us powerful stakeholders when responding to climate change and conservation challenges. We are the original caretakers of Earth. We are the oldest living cultures on the planet. We are knowledge holders, innovators, and have seen many climate changes over the tens of thousands of years that we have inhabited this place. What the world needs now are leaders who can connect the dots between Indigenous rights and climate change. When we all work together, we can move to a new paradigm that protects humanity and the planet today and for future generations. We should all be advocating for a safe, clean, healthy, and sustainable environment as a universal human right. Oxfam tells us that every minute 11 people die from hunger. In the time that I've been speaking to you, 55 people have died. With millions experiencing hunger and displacement due to the effects of climate change and environmental degradation, it is clearer than ever that human life and dignity depend on a healthy environment. And these are some of the themes that we'll be exploring over the next 2 days. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Tony Boatman.
Susan, good morning, and what a wonderful welcome. We're not together, but it feels like we almost are. The technology is just brilliant. What I'd like to do now is just say a couple of words of introduction to ImpactX. And by the way, Susan, what a wonderful context you've just given us. I think it's really important that we bring everything back to country. We bring everything back to the natural world. After all, the climate discussion is about the natural world and the earth, and of course, the people that live in it. The purpose of ImpactX platform globally is to bring together impact technology founders, the investors, and the established industry leaders that we have at this event, representing massive companies, but also small companies. And of course, the policymakers that are needed to shift capital into emerging technologies that accelerate pathways to net zero. The real tech roadmap will be discussed here at this event. The primary objective of the ImpactX Summit is to discuss climate growth and the business opportunities that come with rapid decarbonisation. We have such an opportunity in this country. There's an opportunity for all businesses, for industries, for cities, for states, and of course for citizens to work together and get Australia to net zero by 2050 or much sooner. There's an opportunity for Australia to be a world leader in renewables and climate technology innovation. You know, we've got 250, in excess of 250 clean tech startup founders at ImpactX, and we're just beginning to scratch the surface. We have such an opportunity for job creation and for economic development, but we must do this within a finite carbon budget. And of course, you know, the overarching purpose of all of us being here, and there's thousands around the world. By the way, good morning to everyone in Australia, good afternoon to those joining from the US, and good evening to those people from Europe. We're all going to contribute to the generation of new ideas that support innovation, that shift capital to climate technologies in those key industrial sectors that can help us accelerate pathways to net zero. We are live during the United Nations COP in Glasgow, which has been described over and over as our last best chance to solve the climate crisis and to slow global heating to 1.5 degrees. This is an opportunity, and I said this on ABC Radio last night, this is an opportunity for us to send a far more ambitious, a far more optimistic message from Australia to the rest of the world and demonstrate that real climate action is actually already taking place here in Australia. I wanted to acknowledge CVent, our virtual event platform. 3 months ago, I expected to be staring at an audience of 3,000 people. I think there's 30 in the background. I'm going to pay a little bit of attention to you, but mostly I'll be looking to camera. You'll be looking at your CVent dashboard. You can see that you can build your agenda. We've broken it down into session blocks, so if you click below each session block, you'll see very specific timings and a speaker next to those. And then further down below, you'll see the biographies of all of the speakers, and we've got 110 of them, each of them experts in their respective fields that'll be addressing this global audience over the next 2 days. There's an app, so you can go to CVent event and download the app. You can't live stream through the app, but if you're out walking the dog or getting a bite to eat, you can track the agenda and follow progress. I don't think we expect anyone to sit here for 16 days, so please make sure you get up out of your seat and get some exercise as well. Like any virtual platform, you can post questions, you can chat, you can put your reactions in there, delight, hopefully not too much despair. Look out for that little alert bell at the top of your browser. We'll be sending some alerts for polls and alerting you to really important keynotes and sessions. Please do get across and visit the partners. There's a virtual exhibition booth, there's a bunch of startups in there, there's big companies, small companies that are showcasing their climate technologies and really broadcasting their ambition to the world. There's gigabytes worth of content that you can download, and if no one's there, like in a real event, make an appointment, send a message or request that someone contacts you back. And of course, be polite. You know, we're in an online world, but, you know, respect that everyone's very busy. Write a note of introduction. Don't just walk up and shove a PowerPoint or a pamphlet in someone's face. Actually, we've seen a little bit of this on the global stage in the last couple of days. Don't do that. A large global scale event like ImpactX would not be possible without the amazing support of the many partner organisations and collaborators. So before I begin, I'd just like to call out a few of these. Firstly, the New South Wales Government. This is the reason, you are the reason that I've moved my company from Singapore back to New South Wales and Sydney. New South Wales is committed to achieving net zero by 2050 and to reduce emissions by 50% by 2030. So the state is leading. New South Wales has a net zero plan with an ambitious, fully funded policy, which is an important point, in the electricity, transport, industrial and waste sectors that puts New South Wales on track to achieve its 2030 ambitions. WWF Australia, of course, for a long time has been a driving force for Australian ambition to become a world-leading renewable energy superpower. We can do this. BCSD Australia has been calling for business to take the lead with more ambitious 2030 targets. And the Global Alliance for Sustainable Planet, whose Secretary-General, Satya Tripathi, you'll hear from tomorrow, live from Glasgow. We're also grateful to our friends at Business Events Sydney, the City of Sydney, and most importantly to our three principal partners, ANZ Bank, Australian Ethical for your long-term leadership in this space, and of course Citi.